It was a warm summer night in Washington, D.C., in the early 1970s. Cars rushed along the highways, lights flickered across the city, and people carried on with their lives completely unaware that a predator was stalking the streets, a predator who would soon be known as the Freeway Phantom. Between April 1971 and September 1972, 6 young black girls vanished, kidnapped, murdered, and dumped along the freeways of the nation's capital. The killer left almost no clues, no witnesses, no motive identified, and after terrorizing the city for more than a year, he simply disappeared. This is the haunting story of the Freeway Phantom, the child killer who vanished without a trace. The first victim. On April 25, 1971, it began. 13-year-old Carol Denise Spinks left her home to buy groceries at a local 7-Eleven just a few blocks away. Her mother had told her not to go out. It wasn't safe. But like most kids her age, Carol thought nothing bad could possibly happen in her neighborhood. She grabbed her purse, told her siblings she'd be right back, and walked out the door. She never returned. Hours passed. Then, an entire night. Her mother panicked. Police were notified, but in those days, missing black children were not treated with urgency. Officers assumed Carol might have run away. Her family knew that wasn't true. 6 days later, a maintenance worker walking along the grassy edge of I-295 noticed something unusual. A small body, lying next to the highway. It was Carol. She had been assaulted, strangled, and left by the freeway, a signature that would soon become horrifyingly familiar. The city felt a ripple of fear, but they had no idea the nightmare had only just begun. The killer strikes again. Just over a month later, on July 9, 1971, 16-year-old Darlenia Johnson vanished while walking to her job at Oxon Hill Recreation Center. Witnesses last saw her near a bus stop. 3 weeks later, construction workers spotted her body near I-295, just a few blocks from where Carol had been found. 2 victims. Both young black girls. Both left by the freeway. Both murdered with brutal precision. Police realized they weren't dealing with coincidence. This was a serial killer. Fear began spreading through Southeast DC like wildfire. Parents stopped letting their daughters go out alone. Kids walked in groups. Streets that were once filled with everyday life became silent. Nobody knew who would disappear next. A city in panic. On July 27th, just weeks after Darlenia, 10-year-old Brenda Faye Crockett disappeared while running a simple errand. But this case was different, and even more chilling. That night, the Crockett home phone rang. It was Brenda, crying. She told her mother, "A white man picked me up. I'll be home soon." The family immediately sensed something was wrong. Brenda was not the type of child to lie or to wander away. And why was she calling from a stranger's home? And if she was unharmed, why was she crying? Minutes later, she called again, this time speaking to her sister. Brenda said she was in a house somewhere in Virginia. Her voice shook. Then she said, "Did my mother see me?" And the call ended. To this day, many investigators believe the killer was forcing Brenda to speak. Her words sounded rehearsed, staged, as if the murderer was trying to mislead the police by suggesting a white man in Virginia was responsible. Hours later, Brenda's body was found along US Route 50. Strangled, assaulted, left beside another highway. Just like the others. This was now the work of a bold, confident predator. Someone who enjoyed control. Someone who wanted the city to feel fear. The 4th and 5th killings. On October 1, 1971, 12-year-old Nenomoshia Yates was walking home from a Safeway store. When her parents noticed she hadn't returned, they searched everywhere. Later that night, her body was found near the Pennsylvania Avenue freeway ramp. Police knew instantly. The Freeway Phantom had struck again. Only 34 days later, on November 15th, 18-year-old Brenda Denise Woodard disappeared after having dinner with a friend. Unlike the other victims, Brenda was older, stronger, and more cautious. But the Phantom was skilled. Her body was found on an embankment along Route 202, stabbed and strangled. And inside her coat pocket, police found something that changed the investigation completely. A handwritten note. "This is tantamount to my insensitivity to people, especially women. I will admit the others when you catch me, if you can. The handwriting did not match Brenda's. Investigators believe the killer forced her to write it under his instruction before murdering her. This was the first and only communication from the Freeway Phantom. The city was officially living in terror. The final known victim. 9 months passed without another murder. People hoped maybe the killer had died, or left the city, or been arrested for something else. But the nightmare wasn't over. On September 5, 1972, 17-year-old Diane Denise Williams stepped onto a bus after visiting her boyfriend. She promised she'd be home soon. She never arrived. Her body was found the next morning along I-295. The same pattern, the same method, the same phantom. Diane was the 6th known victim. Some investigators believe there may have been more, but these 6 cases remain officially linked. And then, just like that, the Freeway Phantom never struck again. Who was the Freeway Phantom? Over the decades, detectives chased dozens of leads. Some were promising, some were dead ends, but none ever produced a definitive suspect. Here are the most notable theories. 1. The Green Vega Rapist Gang. At one point, multiple men were accused of being part of a local kidnapping and assault ring called the Green Vega Rapists. One of the members told detectives that another member bragged about killing young girls along highways. Police investigated heavily, but nothing connected directly to the Freeway Phantom murders. Handwriting samples didn't match. Details didn't align. The lead eventually collapsed. 2. A military or ex-police suspect. Given the killer's organization, control, and ability to abduct children without witnesses, some investigators believed he might have been military personnel, ex-law enforcement, someone with training in surveillance or restraint. This matched some aspects of the behavior, but again, no physical evidence ever proved it. 3. A lone predator living in Southeast DC. Others believed the Phantom was simply someone who lived nearby, someone familiar with the neighborhoods, bus stops, and routes children walked every day. It's possible he blended into the community so well that no one ever suspected him. Forensics, DNA, and modern investigation. When the murders happened, DNA technology didn't exist. Evidence that could have solved the case today was either lost, contaminated, or never collected properly. In the early 2000s, cold case detectives attempted to re-examine the evidence. They tested clothing, fibers, and biological samples. But after decades of storage issues, very little survived. The Phantom left almost nothing behind. No fingerprints. No consistent tire marks. No weapon. No witnesses. Only a single note that may have been dictated. It was as if the killer had studied how to avoid detection, decades before criminal profiling became standard. Even today, modern investigators say they are missing the one crucial piece of evidence needed to identify him. Why did the killings stop? This is the biggest mystery. Serial killers rarely stop voluntarily. So why did the Freeway Phantom suddenly vanish? There are several theories. 1. He was arrested for another crime. He may have been jailed for robbery, assault, or an unrelated murder. 2. He was killed. Street violence in the 1970s was high. He could have died without anyone realizing who he was. 3. He moved to another city and continued killing. Many detectives believe this is possible, that similar murders in other states could be connected. 4. He became too old or too ill. Some killers stop when their health declines. 5. He changed his behavior after a close call. Perhaps he almost got caught. Perhaps someone recognized him. Perhaps he panicked. Whatever happened, the Freeway Phantom disappeared as silently as he arrived. The tragic impact on families. Behind the headlines were real families, devastated forever. Mothers who never stopped searching. Siblings who still have nightmares. Communities that lost trust in the police who failed them. Many believe racism played a major role in the slow investigation. All the victims were black girls. Police resources were stretched thin, and authorities didn't treat early disappearances with urgency. Had the first case been taken more seriously, some of the later victims might still be alive. Even today, families say they want justice. Not just for closure, but because the girls deserve to be remembered not as crime statistics, but as children who had dreams, futures, and lives stolen. The legacy of the Freeway Phantom. More than 50 years later, the Freeway Phantom case remains one of DC's most terrifying cold cases, one of the earliest known serial killers targeting young black children, a haunting example of how predators can hide in plain sight, a reminder of the flaws in the justice system. To this day, detectives still receive new tips occasionally, but unless new evidence is uncovered, the case may never be solved. The Freeway Phantom remains a ghost, a shadow that slipped through the cracks of history. Message to viewers. The Freeway Phantom didn't just take 6 innocent lives. He stole the safety of an entire generation. He left families broken. He left a city terrified. And he left a mystery that has haunted investigators for half a century. If you or someone you know has any information, even the smallest detail, you can contact the DC Metropolitan Police Cold Case Unit. One clue, one witness, one memory could finally reveal the identity of the killer who vanished without a trace. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. And remember, the truth is never as far away as it seems.